Let's try this. It says it's running. Paths to publishing. It still just says upcoming. Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, there we go. I found it on the YouTube channel.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. It is now up. We are live.
I hit the live. I hit the.
Did you hit the live
I
button
hit the
again?
live button instead of the mic. I
Again?
hit the live button instead of the mic. Okay, don't worry about it. This is fine. Everything's fine. So even if you guys are the only ones who hear this, this is cozy. It's fine. I will say, you have to all stop what you're doing and go and read.
All right, I think we are, it's 11 o'clock here, so I guess we could go ahead and get going.
Okay, I'm
that,
ready.
Does that sound good to everybody, I guess?
As long as I can keep drinking my coffee, I'm good.
No coffee. All right, well, so excited to have everybody here today. I'm not sure, I guess, is it just going to be us here in the chat and then we'll just broadcast out to everybody? Is that kind of how that's going to work?
I think that is about right.
Okay, cool beans. Neat. All right, well, let's just dive right in. So this is the Paths to Publishing panel. I have words today, I promise. I am S Usher Evans. I guess I am moderating today. Not sure how I got the stick, but I will hold it well. Today we have JP. I'm going to please say your last name because I don't want to butcher it.
JP Rindfleisch.
JP Rindfleisch. Thank you. That's a lot easier.
What a cool last name.
That is
I should have been a horror author.
Oh my god, yeah.
We also have Rebecca Thorne, and then we have Jackson Dickert,
unfortunately.
Okay. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure myself out this morning. So, and then I think Jolly Jupiter is hanging out as our awesome sort of tech support guy. So just ignore him for the moment. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. So I'll just go ahead and tell you real quick. I'm been self-publishing for about a decade now. I have 37 titles. I'm currently running a Kickstarter on my 37th title right now. I have 12 cozy titles. I just started publishing cozy fantasy last year, and I have got the bug, and I have not stopped. JP, if you want to go next.
Sure. I'm JP Rindfleisch the Ninth. I am actually the Ninth. I guess you could say that my writing journey started in the basement of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where a bunch of indie authors got together and destroyed the world. But then after writing a post-apocalyptic anthology with them, I eventually shifted into writing cozy fantasy. So I'm the writer of the cozy queer fantasy adventure serial Mosswood Apothecary, as well as the witchy cozy queer fantasy, which is a serial to book, Mandrake Manor. And I also do writing and productivity streams on Twitch as the username Cheshire Pope, and an occasional host on the Dialogue Doctor podcast with Jeff Elkins and Laura Hum.
Awesome. Rebecca, I'm just going in order of the boxes here.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Thorne. I am a USA Today, Indie Times, and Sunday Times bestselling author, which is great. My cozy fantasy is called Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. It is book one of the Tomes and Tea series, which will be 4 books total. And I self-published originally and then was purchased by Tor, first in the UK, then in the US. And now I am hybrid. So I do self-publishing and traditional publishing simultaneously. So.
Awesome. And Jackson, if you want to round us out.
Yeah, I'm Jackson Dickert. I'm an author. I haven't written anything cozy yet, but I have ideas and no time. I think everybody can relate to that. I work at Campfire, and we started out as a writing and world building software, and we still have that. But last year, kind of when we also dove all into cozy, we opened up a publishing side of the platform, and we've had a big focus on cozies. And this year, we've released 2 digital special editions with Charlotte English. Doing Fairy Fruit, and then the Tea Princess Chronicles. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, it sounds like we have kind of a wide variety of different platforms here, which is, I think, the point of the panel here. So I'm going to start with, let's just go in reverse order. I'm going to start with Jackson. And if you want to tell us a little bit about Campfire and what y'all offer in terms of, for self-published authors or for serial authors and all of that. And then we'll just kind of work our way back around.
Yeah, so Campfire, like I said, we started as the software. So it's a way to sort of visually keep track of everything in your story. It's very visual. I have ADHD, so like if I don't see something, it doesn't exist. And so we really wanted the software to kind of be friendly like that as well. And so it's got a lot of different tools, basically everything that you'd need to publish. Like you can even export EPUBs from our manuscript module, which is super cool. And then you can publish all of that onto our platform as well. So the book, but you can also publish, you've got character sheets and timelines and magic systems and species, all that good stuff that readers want to see. And maybe not everything that you're publishing made it into the book, right? Like side characters who have interesting backstories, but it didn't necessarily serve the story, but there's still going to be readers who are really interested in some of that content. And so we allow you to put that up on Campfire for 80% royalties. You get to set the price. You get to come and go as you please. There's no exclusivity. We're just trying to be as friendly as possible, a way for writers to be able to kind of supplement their income, whether that's through extras or being able to publish in an additional place.
Campfire's awesome. If you guys are ever looking for a platform, use it. It's awesome.
Yeah, Campfire has been, I think I'm like at 80% uploading for Drinks and Sinkholes on Campfire. And every time I get an email from you, I'm like, I need to do that. And then it just disappears from my brain. So
I get that.
All right, Rebecca, you have a very interesting path to publishing, so to speak. So tell us about, you kind of mentioned it a little bit more, but if you want to kind of go into more detail on your path, I think we would love to hear that.
Yeah. So I was originally a traditional author for like 8 years. I was working up through the traditional path because that was what I was told would get our books in Barnes & Noble. And so I did that from like 2014 until like 2022. And in 2022, I read Legends and Lattes. I found it in a Barnes & Noble, and it kind of like blew my mind because it was like, well, wait, I'd always been told that you couldn't get into Barnes & Noble if you were indie published. Like you had to be trad. You had to be trad. And that's why I spent 8 years banging my head against a wall trying to figure out a way into the trad path. And then I found Legends and Lattes in the bookstore, and I was like, oh my God, they lied to me. Everybody lied to me. And that wasn't even true. I think what happened is, systems just got better. Like Ingram Spark came in and started actually making connections where like there's an actual catalog now that they can go in and booksellers can access. And then TikTok, I think, bridged the path between, indie authors and, their books so that booksellers could find them and stock them in stores. And that's how that book ended up there. So I bought it, I read it, I loved it. I was like, holy crap, cozy fantasy is coming like a freight train. And a lot of people aren't seeing it yet because it's brand new, but in 2 years, it's going to be everywhere because that's how long it takes traditional publishing to move on this kind of thing. So I left my agent. I wrote Cancelable Treason Without Tea in about 2 days. Or I'm sorry, not 2 days. My brain is so tired right now. That'd be crazy, wouldn't that? 2 days of writing, that'd be insane. No, I wrote it in 6 weeks. I made the decision to leave my agent in like 2 days. I was like, bye. I wrote it in 6 weeks, and then I self-published it in September of that year. So that was over June and July I wrote it, and then I self-published in September. And by Christmas, it was selling really, really well because Cozy Fantasy does amazing over the Christmas holidays just because people want to gift their books out. And then by January, I was getting emails from publishers asking to publish it. So I got an offer from Illumicrate in the UK first. I found an agent out there who leveraged it into a 4-house auction, which Tor UK won. Then we got Tor US on board just because I was like in love with Tor, like they've been my dream publisher forever. In the meantime, we actually did have a couple of US offers as well that I kind of was like, I'm not interested in them if Tor is interested in this book. So Tor republished it, and now I am hybrid with my cozy stories. But I do still have 2 self-published books out that I put out last year. So long path, weird, hard to replicate. Just so who's watching this knows, like that was really truly like the stroke of lightning. But I think it was beneficial because I had so long in traditional publishing that I was able to see these trends coming in a way that a lot of other people without 8 years in traditional publishing probably didn't. So I think that it's the important thing to remember about this story is that it is hard to replicate. It probably will be impossible for most of you, but if you're in the industry, you're going to learn things regardless. So just be involved wherever you can and pick up as much as you can, because you never know when opportunity like that will come your way.
Absolutely. All right, JP, tell us about your journey.
All right. Well, mine's very different, which I think really highlights the fact that we're all very different on our paths and our publishing paths. I started out around indie authors, so I knew that I had resources to jump to whenever I wanted to move to self-publishing. So I had never even thought about traditional publishing. I just dove right in. I started really working co-writing in a Dark Paranormal Academy series. I'm still working on that with my co-author. But there was something along the lines of accountability and trying to get my own things done. I just struggle with that sort of getting a big project done sort of mindset. And then Kindle Vella came along, and I had a friend who realized there was a space missing for a podcast about serial fiction and how to write it and how to have conversations about it. So we started the Serial Fiction Show, which ran for about a year. For those that don't know, Kindle Vella is a US only serialized platform, but it's very similar to like Wattpad, Radish, and Ream. The only thing is that it costs tokens, so it's not a free platform, but that way the author gets paid for it. But therefore it's very similar to like Ream, Ko-fi, or Radish in that sense. But regardless, we started the Serial Fiction Show. I ended up finding another co-author who wanted to write a silly, goofy ghost story that was Ghostbusters meets The Office. And then I started writing my own thing with Mandrake Manor. And I really found that being able to write chapter by chapter, edit all the way through, get it publishable, put it live so that I can't go back and edit it was my way of writing stories, because then I was able to complete a story from start to finish. So I did Mandrake Manor that way, and then I also went the route of Mosswood Apothecary. Mosswood Apothecary really grabbed a bit more attention, and I ended up with a contract for another project with a different company that will hopefully be coming out in a couple months, but that's my path at the moment.
Awesome.
Can I just say that I'm so interested in like hearing more about the serial side of things? Like I feel like there are not a lot of authors doing that, and I think it's so interesting.
It's really, really fun.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah, that reminds me of way back in the olden days when I was on fanfiction.net, and I kind of had a similar thing where it was like, write a
I
chapter,
was
put it out.
literally just thinking, I'm like, it's like fan fiction, but you get paid for it.
Yeah. My fanfiction.net username was like 8850. If that tells you how long ago I joined. I'm old. So my path to publishing is sort of interesting. I obviously wrote a lot of fan fiction when I was in my teens. And then I stopped writing and got a real job and worked at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. for about 7-8 years. And was with a guy that I thought I was going to marry. This is important, I promise. He didn't want to marry me. And then I just completely looked at my life and said, I hate everything about where I live, what I do. Just everything sucks. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to publish a book just for me. I've been saying I'm going to do it, and I'm just going to do it. And I started doing it, and I realized as I started the process that, oh, I'm actually really good at this. I have a background in web design. I have a background in marketing. I have, I did strategic communications for the Pentagon. Like I know how to do these things, and I can do these things pretty well. And so I kind of went through this. I don't have to live here anymore. I don't have to do this. I don't have to any of that. I can just sort of, it looks like there are questions, so that's good. Anyway, so I did that, and I published a book in 2014 called Double Life, which is a space pirate bounty hunter series about a girl living a double life as the world's universe's least wanted space pirate bounty hunter. And so that was a lot of fun. I didn't have much traction for several years. I traveled the country. I did about 50 conventions I think in like 5 years. I'm very tired. And just sort of kept, throwing spaghetti at the wall. I had a little bit of success with a Princess Batman series. It's a YA series, and that one ended up winning second place. It was the runner-up for the Indie Author Project Best Indie Novel of 2019. And so that was really cool. And that actually started to like get some traction. And then the pandemic hit and all of my sales just evaporated. And I told myself, you know what, I'm going to try one more series. So by this point, I had written like 25 books and I was only making like maybe $50 a month, if that. And I was like, you know, if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to just, push this aside and do something else. And then I wrote Drinks and Sinkholes because, like Rebecca, I saw the Legends and Latte thing. I thought, this could be fun, and it came at a point in my life when I was in need of something cozy because I had I think a eight little over a year old daughter, and I was pregnant with my son, and I was having all manner of complications with my son. I was hospitalized off and on the entire pregnancy. And so cozy kind of came at a point in my life where I really, was really appreciative of it. And now, this year, so I went from making, let's call it $50 a month to I should be a six-figure author this year, which is absolutely mind blowing to think about and to say. And it is 100% due to this cozy fantasy series. So it's been very lucrative for me. It's been a joy to write, and I'm actually running a Kickstarter right now for another series. So I ran a Kickstarter for Bev last year, and now I'm running another Kickstarter for the spinoff series Lily. And that one is also going very well. So I do see we've got a couple questions coming in, so we will shift over to that. So somebody says, I currently use Scrivener, which I also use and I love, and I'm an whatever the word is, evangelical about. Is Campfire quite different or similar? So I think that's going to be a question for Jackson about Campfire.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty different. Scrivener has plotting tools. It's got a manuscript tool, but Campfire has a lot more focus on the world building side of things. On oh, I can't remember what color did I say their eyes were in chapter 2, and then you have to go back and dig and find that. Pain in the butt. So Campfire makes that really easy. Which is the big difference from Scrivener. It's purely focused on writing your book. Campfire is a lot more world building, and Scrivener also doesn't have that way to also publish that content. So it's one of those things that people are always like, which one's better? Like at the end of the day, whichever one helps you write the book is the one that's better. So whether that's Campfire or Scrivener, as long as you're bringing fiction into the world, do that. That's great. And then come publish your world building on Campfire, though, because you can't do that on Scrivener.
Couldn't get to my mute button. Am I the only one? Did anybody else use Scrivener too? I'm obsessed with it.
I use Scrivener. I'm less pleased lately. I don't know. I have complex thoughts about Scrivener after they continued to endorse Nano after all of the drama there. So, but I mean, it's a one-time fee, and I already paid it like 10 years ago. So I'm kind of like, it's on my computer. It's useful. I only use it for world building. I really like Campfire's like interface. I feel like if I wasn't such a word girly, I actually think I probably would be writing on Campfire.
For me, I use Microsoft Word and/or Google Docs, depending, because I started off as a co-writer, so I have to have ways to have instantaneous. Here is the draft. If you're editing it and I open it, I'm not screwing things up, and we could never figure that out with Scrivener.
Yeah, that I can see how Scrivener would make that incredibly difficult. Mm-hmm. Even with you can use Dropbox with Scrivener to open it on like your whatever, this, that, and the other, but like I'm gonna post one of my books onto the Dropbox Scrivener and take my iPad with me when I go to Argentina in a couple weeks. So like you can, but it's co-writing would be a nightmare.
It is.
So actually, I think Jackson would Campfire do well with co-writing.
Yeah, so we do have like you can sit and write with somebody at the same time. I will say, no shame, it's a little bit less robust than something like Google Docs. I mean, Google Docs is just perfect in terms of like writing at the same time and like the way you can suggest and leave comments. That's all fantastic about Google Docs. You can do that with Campfire. You can collaborate on the whole thing, but I think Google Docs probably has us beat in terms of the robustness of that feature.
I love the concept of Campfire. I just don't have the time to write all of the fun extra stuff that would go into Campfire too. But I love that I think that's just fantastic platform for those who do have all of that extra stuff to be able to put it. I love that. I love that concept.
Yeah.
Let's see. It looks like we've got a question about cereals. So I'm going to kick this one over to JP. His question is, I'm also curious about cereals. It seems like it can either or give or take away a lot of controls from authors.
Well,
then
I think. Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. I think that I love proximity if I can get it from me to my reader. And so I know there's another question about like how long of a delay before you go to post, and mine is about 2 weeks. So I'm keeping an eye on the comments and keeping an eye on what episodes people like, and I'm able to update and edit upcoming chapters based off of how people comment. On Kindle Vella platform, there are polls. So for example, I have like in Mosswood Apothecary, I have weird spirit looking animals. And I said, which ones do you like? And then I was able to see like, oh, people like this one the most. That one's coming back in a couple chapters. That's a really easy thing for me to decide on. Someone else made a comment that was like, I love the techno city that you have in this world. I would love to know if they've always been queer friendly. So then 2 chapters later, I take them to a park, they see a statue, and they learn the history about something. But then that way I'm able to have that proximity to the reader and give them what they wanted out of the story without having to drastically change anything about the story. So that's one of the reasons why I love writing serials. And then the fact that I'm able to compile that into a book and give it out as something later. Always check your terms and conditions as to where you're posting, but this is okay with things like Amazon. So that's why I love writing serials. And that's sort of, I don't think that I'm losing control. I actually think that I'm getting wider ability off of it than I would writing an entire novel without that sort of feedback loop.
Well, and once you're done with the serial, can't you publish it on Amazon anyway?
Yes.
Like,
So always check your terms and conditions. But the last episode that you're compiling together, so let's say I write chapters 1 through 30, 30 days after that one has been published is the time frame when you can then post as an ebook, paperback, audio, hardcover, all of that. So it's honestly a step prior to publishing all of that. And if that serial takes off and it gains a following, then that's income that you can use towards editing, cover, all of the pieces ahead of time. So it's perfect in my my idea.
I love that. I love that you can sort of not crowdsource your book, but semi crowdsource your book, or at least get,
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Okay, so there's a question that I think we could probably all answer, and I think Rebecca, you might be the best suited to answer this.
I was waiting for it. I saw it and I was like, oh, I hope I get to answer that one.
So the question is, what if you aren't done with your books and your love for cozy, yet the industry is already looking for the next big thing? I want to write this, but I'm not fast. I have a day job. So Rebecca, I'm going to let you start that one, and then I think I have some things to say about that too. But I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited. So the beginning of that question was that the person was like, I'm getting a little nervous and anxious about the idea that you guys all saw it coming. And I think that is something that is worth touching on, just because you can see like this industry has a lot of new things that come in. It's simultaneously stagnant and changing all at once. So when we talk about like we saw this thing coming, all it meant is that we read a book and liked it, and then looked around and realized a bunch of other people also liked it. And like that's literally what we saw coming. Like I think I was able to look a little deeper into the industry and be like, there were, and not that anyone else hadn't also done this. Like, you know, is it Susher? You want to Sush? Was that a joke?
Sush. Yeah.
Okay. Sush. He was like, you can call me Sush, and I was like, I can't tell if it's a joke or not, but now I want to do it.
No, that is actually my real name is Whitney.
Sush
I know.
So cool.
So everyone just calls me
great
Sush.
name too. I actually love that. So Sush, I mean, probably also felt this way, but like when you're in the industry even a little bit, you know that traditional publishing doesn't publish anything that doesn't work before. So like when we were talking about cozy fantasy coming like a freight train, I was looking at it because Legends and Lattes was bought by Tor in like 3 weeks, which is freaking unheard of. Like when they were negotiating my contract, they told me in January that they wanted to buy it, and we didn't sign the contracts until July. So like that's a more traditional timeline. It just takes months and months. They bought Legends and Lattes in like weeks, and that is a clear indicator that they were super excited about it. Based on the success it had as an indie book, it was very easy for me to see that once they republished it with Tor's distribution system, it would be a New York Times bestseller. And there was no doubt in my mind that that would happen. And that's where the industry experience comes in, where you can look at something like that and be like, oh, this is probably the path it's going to take. But all I did was read this book and get on TikTok and see how many other people were also reading this book. And that's what we learned. So just because it had this heyday back in 2023, 2024 does not mean that it's not still going to be completely popular in 2025, 2026, 2027. You know, I mean, even another example of this could be, you know, Twilight and vampires, right? Like traditional publishing stopped acquiring vampires from like 2014 until like 2017. Like they were like blacklisted, like you couldn't sell them hardly anywhere because of Vampire Academy and Twilight and everything else that came out before it. But if you look around now, they're still acquiring vampires in a very, very, very big way. Like they had a break, and then they realized that there's still demand for this thing that they took a break from, and they're losing money by not grabbing it. So, I mean, and that's just on the traditional side. If you were going to do indie, there's always people who are going to want to read that, and you don't have anybody telling you no. So don't get scared about the idea that you've missed a trend. Like write what you want, find a genre that you vibe with, and then go for it, because I don't think you're going to lose either way.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with that. And I did kind of have the same thing. In fact, I saw you having success and I said, maybe I should do this. But I think, you know, one of the things that is hotly contested in publishing right now, if you go on Threads, is this idea of hard work versus luck, right? So did you get lucky or did you work hard? And as somebody who worked hard for 9 years and did not get lucky, and then who suddenly got lucky, I definitely think luck has a lot to play in it. So you read a book at the right time is luck. You see, hey, I've got an idea that could fit in this. That's luck. I think, you know, and yes, hard work plays into it. So
no, you're right. It's luck.
Yeah.
I'm like, I was in the industry for 8 years. I didn't get lucky. I was perfectly poised. I think the way that and I think Travis Baldree described it this way, where it's like a field where you're putting out lightning rods waiting to get struck, and you can have 100,000 lightning rods that you've been putting out for years in a field, and none of them will get struck. And then you look into the field next door, and someone walks up a hill and puts down one and gets struck, right? Yep. Like it. Yeah. But you got to be out of your car in the field putting out the rods. Like if you're not out there, you're never going to get struck.
Yes,
yeah, you got to be persistent.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, you know, for me specifically, having 9 years of indie publishing and knowing how to run Facebook ads and knowing how to run Amazon ads and knowing how to run BookBub ads and leveraging all the things that I learned to try to get these other, you know, books that have still not earned out the money that I've invested in them. Like I have a 4-book lower YA series that still has like $700 to make back. Like just trying and just beating this dead horse. And then finally having a book that Snowballs. And what I mean by Snowballs is it started selling, and then Amazon said, hey, can we promote you, you know, on the 27th of this month? Like, okay. And then they keep sending me things. Hey, can we promo you? Can we promo you? Can we promo you? Barnes and Noble selected it as like one of the best books of 2020. What was last year? 2023. Yeah. And so that was promo. And so then I could poke them and say, hey, I got another one releasing. Can you promote it again? Sure thing. And so when that lightning does strike, it snowballs. And so you go from like struggling to even get traction, and then things just go. And it's been mind-blowing for me as someone who has this backlist and who has not done anything markedly different other than writing something that's popular.
But the backlist is key. Like
my backlist doesn't sell.
I feel like what the backlist does is it tells readers when they look at you, like, this is the kind of writing I can expect from you, and it's consistent. You know, like
that's not my backlist.
Well, at least you got one.
It goes from like I'm truly an ADHD writer. I go from like lower YA, like Harry Potter, who I have issues about, but that's kind of what it is, to like gritty, abusive, narcissistic, abusive urban fantasy, and it's like all under the same pen name, and it's completely wrong. Do not do this, trust me. And then you've got cozy. So like I think that was part of my problem, is I never stuck to a particular audience. so I couldn't grow an audience in a particular area. And so that was, anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, assuming your audience will come with you when you switch genres was an interesting experiment for me. Because I also noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with
It's
switching platforms too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. All right. So I think we answered that one. So the next one is
Real quickly.
the editing process, which I think we could all answer this. If you're
I
indie
think-
published, how did you find your editing team, and what do you like, not like about the process? Really quickly, mine was word of mouth. My main editor I've had for I think 9 years now, and then I have a kind of a typo checker editor that is actually started off as a fan and then offered her services. But anybody else who uses editors, obviously, Rebecca, you've got yours from your publisher.
Yeah, I have. I actually shockingly use private editors more than my I feel like my agent doesn't edit at all. Like my old agent did, and she edited almost too much, I think, for me. And I got very tired of like the creative restraint, I guess, around like this will sell, but that won't. And I was like, let me decide that because I'm the one talking to my readers more than my agent is. So I found an agent that doesn't do any editing at all, and I love it. It's amazing. I just hand her a book and she goes and sells it. With an actual freelance editor, how did I find the editing team? It's for me, it's word of mouth. Like I find almost all of my editors through word of mouth. I look for ones that have platforms. So I like the ones that are on TikTok, the ones that are on Instagram. I look for the educators more than anything, like the ones who take the time to educate readers for free or writers for free. Those are the people that I vibe with. I like those people. I like people who share knowledge just for the sake of sharing knowledge. So I find those people and I use them. I also do have a pretty good network of like people that I've just known for years. Like my first book was picked up by Revise and Resubmit when that contest was a thing on Twitter. And I was like one of the first round winners of that. And that's how I got my first agent. So that editor and me are still very good friends. And then I have met several editors along the way as I've been on TikTok that have been really wonderful. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice process. I like it. I like using editors when I can afford it. I always have to look at my balance book and be like, am I self-editing this one or can I afford to hire someone?
I'll talk about editors quick, but then afterwards, Jackson, I think you had a comment for something before, so I want to make sure after. Anyways, so for editing, for serials, now note that this has been after a period of time where I've written novels with people and I've had editors. Currently, for serials, there is sort of this expectation that it doesn't have to be pristine work. People are aware that for the most part, most serial fiction authors are writing these chapters within a week to 2 weeks before they get published. And so they are more lenient on errors and problems that may occur within the writing. So I have honestly, like I go through the thing probably like 5 or 6, 7 times. I also listen to it because there is a difference between listening to your work through like text to speech and hearing the problems, and then obviously various editing software. And then I send it to somebody. They go through an editing process and we publish it. After, and when I go to compile, I'm then being more scrutinous and I'm sending it to an editor as a compiled piece of work. I'm looking for how to novelize the piece because there is a difference between serials and novels based off of the way that story structure works. I can, of course, package this as a novel and then at the beginning say like this was compiled as a serial, and that's an easy kind of little line there for people to understand that this is more serialized fiction. But regardless, as I'm compiling it into a book, I am seeking out sort of those editors. I'm in the same boat as Rebecca there, where I am seeking out editors that are there to teach. I do editing services, and my mindset has always been like, I want to teach you out of you ever having to hire me again. I do not want you to keep coming back to me. I want you to get better each time, and I want to point out those pieces, and I'm looking for editors that are doing the same thing. Because of where I started on my writing journey, I met a lot of indie authors, so I've sort of been using those that are the teachers within those groups, and it's a lot of word of mouth and seeing the quality of work that comes out of that. But podcasts are a great way of hearing how people talk about story and their process about it, and learning how they approach storytelling to determine whether or not they're a good fit for you for editing, as well as TikTok. Jackson, did you have something?
Yeah. So 2 things. all the editors that we've ever worked with have also been through word of mouth. We know people who have had really good experience with them, or I'll know them personally, and know that they do good work. So definitely get engaged with the community in general, make friends, and you will find good editors. You need an editor. Unless you are your partner or you have a really good friend who is maybe like an English major, or that's their thing, they like to do this, you probably need an editor, just point blank. With self-publishing, at the end of the day, your work should be indistinguishable from trad publishing. There's no reason that it has to be worse. There's no reason it should be worse. If you're putting something out there with your name on it, it needs to be the very best that you can make it. Sure, not everybody has the maybe the money to spend on an expensive editor, but I'll also say there's a lot of ways that you can still get your work edited. You can trade peer reviews with people, and having 10 different people look at your thing, that is better than just posting it with nothing. You can also just educate yourself. There's a lot of like really excellent books about editing out there that you can read, and then you can apply, and then not only are you becoming like a better writer, but that's getting better as well. So you've got lots of free resources at your disposal as well if you can't afford an editor. The thing that I was going to mention about the last question, somebody had asked if that they feel a little bit anxious that they miss the cozy wave. I would just say, write what you want to write what you're excited about, because that's how you're going to write the best possible story. I mean, right now we're sort of seeing like a wave of lit RPG, right? A lot of these guys have been just grinding on those books for years. I mean, lit RPG is not a brand new thing, sort of like cozy was when it first hit. It's been around for a long time. It just took a while to actually break into the mainstream.
Just a quick aside, if you guys are interested in hearing about lit RPG, I'm going to be talking with Think Twice, who was supposed to be on this panel but is sick today, and is in New Zealand, so it's like 3 a.m. for them. But I'll be talking with them today about the lit RPG path, and like I've been literally DMing them for like 3 months straight. Their path is so interesting. So tune into that tonight at like 6 p.m. because we're going to have this amazing discussion about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Multitasking over here. Yeah, one thing that is really important to remember about self-publishing is that unlike traditional publishing, and I think this kind of isn't always applicable to traditional publishing too, but it is more than it is for self-publishing. Your first book, the first week that your book is out, does not make or break you. So if your first book comes out and you have like 2 sales, that doesn't mean that you're doomed to fail forever. It doesn't mean that you can never publish another book. Doesn't mean that you'll never sell another book. Doesn't mean any of that. It just means this week you sold 2 books. Okay, you got work to do. And you can. So my first book went out without an editor. Would not recommend. It wasn't a matter of money. It was just a matter of I didn't think I needed to. That was a lie. So
that's a freaking mood, though.
Yeah, I mean that's
like, no, I don't need it. All those other people need it, but I don't need it. And like,
there's a difference, and this is something I see a lot with new self-published authors, and that is that it's a difference between saying I can't afford this, I can't afford a cover designer, I can't afford an editor. Fine, that is valid. That is a whole different conversation. If you can and you choose not to because you don't think you need it, question the premise, as Becca Syme says, which if you've never read her book, she's an absolute genius. You probably do need a cover designer, unless you have been in marketing and you understand things like typography and space and design aspects, and you really looking hard at what's selling. You probably need an editor. I am 37 books in, and my editor still finds at least 2,000 things for 60,000 word book. So and after she goes through it, another editor finds another 300. And after she goes through it, my final typo checker finds another 5 things. So, and after they go through it, I'm still getting people like, hey, she had lamb here and then she had pork over here. So, you go through all of these editors and you still find problems. But the point is that if you can't afford it, get an editor, get a cover designer. You can get a pretty cheap cover on Get Covers. I think they're $35. Find a pre-made, all of that good stuff. If you can't afford it, don't panic. when you sell enough books to be able to afford an editor, that should be the first investment that you make is getting an editor or getting a cover, whichever one, seems to be, but yeah, you absolutely need an editor. Let's see. Okay, so let's
Can I
go,
add to that just
yeah,
super
go for it.
quick? The lowest bar to entry will be serials, to be completely honest, because of the expectation of the reader. And this isn't to say that there's anything wrong with that. I think that it's a fair thing to note that the expectation of the reader with you constantly promoting. But the covers themselves are square images, and especially on Kindle Vella, those images can be stock images. They can be whatever you want them to be at the end of the day. And so it is an extremely low bar to entry. So if that's something that you want to like dip your toes in, that's a great way to start.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. I know I have a couple friends that started in serials as well, and they that's kind of where they got their feet wet. All right, let's see. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. I see a question. What options does Campfire have for publishing a book? So, Jackson, I will let you speak to that.
Yeah, so you can just straight up publish a book. You can. We actually switched up the importing process a little bit this year. So all you have to do is import an EPUB, and so if you wrote it on Campfire, you can export the EPUB there, and you can then, or well, you don't have to if you're publishing on Campfire, you can just publish it. But yeah, you can publish the manuscript. You can publish just the world building if you want, because there's a lot of people on Kindle Unlimited who they are stuck on Kindle Unlimited for whatever reason. And that's a way that you can make supplementary income on Campfire. Or, and this is really cool, you can set it up so at the end of a chapter, if you've introduced like a new character or a new species or something like that, the reader can unlock elements. So you've added these to your book. Well, let's just say a dragon, and the dragon appears in this chapter. They unlock a species element for the dragon. And then the reader can take a break from reading if they want, and they can go check out that actual dragon element. It tells you all about, dragons, what they are, what they can do, the role that they play in this world. Or if, you took a long break from reading this book for whatever reason, or you've just forgotten something, as you read, you've got all these ways to go back and reference things that you've forgotten. So there's a couple different ways that you can publish on Campfire, but yeah, hopefully that kind of answers the question. And actually, I can also briefly touch on Elaine Griffith had a question about like Amazon like banning author accounts because your book is on another platform. And I just think that's a great opportunity to touch on why it's really important to diversify your revenue streams as an author, because you've got Patreon and Ream, and you've got a lot of different options for ways that you can monetize your work. And a lot of people get stuck in Kindle Unlimited. Your work is exclusive to Amazon. I know people who make a living off of writing books on Kindle Unlimited. One of them released a book this year, and for no reason, Amazon took down their new book. For no reason. It took them way too long to get it reinstated back. And so during this time, they are losing money. And so whether you're publishing, bonus content on Campfire, whether you're doing it on Campfire and Patreon, or, other, whatever avenue you want to do, definitely do not rely on just Amazon because you'll be in for a world of hurt at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been wide since the get-go. I think I put 2 books in KU like for like 6 months, and then I was like, this is stupid. And yes, to your point, there are so many options. And even if your ebooks are in KU, which this is always this is always confuses people. Ebooks in KU must be exclusive to Amazon. Your paperbacks, your hardcovers, they can be anywhere. You can use Ingram, you can use Amazon Publishing. You can, so hardcovers do not have the exclusivity contract. So I know a lot of authors. I'm in a group called Wide for the Win, which I'm going to, mention a couple of really great Facebook groups. If you're not in Wide for the Win, if you're curious about being wide, it's an amazing, amazing group of people. And so a lot of folks do have their ebooks in KU, but they supplement with things like Kickstarter. They supplement with things like, doing direct sales from their website. They supplement with, Campfire. They supplement with Vella. So they have different ways of doing things, and so you don't have to be all in on KU or all in on wide. You can basically mix and match. So if you find a series is doing really well on KU, you can keep it in KU. And then the rest of your backlist titles you can have elsewhere. What I would not recommend doing though is like having the first book in KU and the rest out of KU, because that tends to have a expectation mismatch with your customers, and you can get some nasty reviews where people were like, "What happened? I thought this was free." So per series, pick a lane and stick with it. But as across your backlist, if you have multiple books, you can definitely do multiple things. I don't know. Do we have anybody in Bindery here? I know, Rebecca, you're kind of familiar with Bindery.
I know everything about Bindery because I have ADHD and it was a hyperfixation for exactly 8 days.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Bindery then? I think we have a question about it.
Yeah. What was the question?
The question was, have we discussed Bindery yet?
Cool. There's actually a Bindery panel later today. So if you're interested in Bindery, I would recommend you get on that. I think it's at like 5 p.m. But like Bindery representatives and Meg from Meg's Tea Room, and I think Jason from EC Cat Press and Kay Sinclair, I think, are in it. Let me double check actually. Yeah, so Bindery and Cozy Publishing. So it's Jason, Kay, Meg, Destin, and then Shira Schindel. Who I don't know, but I assume is some person in Bindery. And that's at 5 p.m. tonight. So if you're interested in Bindery, I'd recommend that. The basic long and short of it is that they are a new kind of publisher. They kind of operate on like an almost hybrid model of publishing, where they basically offer like really, really good royalties, like 50% royalties or something like that, 60% maybe. For the books that they're purchased, they offer a $10,000 flat advance. For those books, they take agented books and unagented books, and they consider all of them. And whatever book they pick gets paired with an influencer that they have like partnered with, and that influencer markets your book for you. So like the author does not have to do any marketing, any back end stuff. Like it's literally to basically bring back authors who write only and don't have to get online and like talk about their books. So it's a really interesting model. I'm going to be really interested to see next week when everything drops, because they're going to be publishing 4 books in their first round, and they have like a party in New York, and like literally like they're bringing in like executives from like Disney and shit like that, like, and like Hollywood executives are coming to this party in New York. Like they have gone all out trying to market this like new book so that they can get it out there and have these distribution lines. But then all of the authors are making way more money on the back end with their royalties than any other author will. For a traditional sense. So yeah, it's a super cool idea. The people who run it are like very diverse and inclusive, which I think is really great. Like they have a lot of like accessibility features on their website. They have a lot of like really diverse, like the board members like are super diverse. They come from a lot of different industries and they just know everything. So like I'm really, really excited to see how their first launch goes. And I read Kay Sinclair's book and like literally like sobbed, like it is so good. So yeah, that's Bindery. If you're interested in more about it, I'd recommend tuning in at 5 p.m. because it's going to be best to hear it straight from the source. But
awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've been eyeballing to see how well it does.
I think we're all waiting. Like we all are, because like the idea of it is great. They've done all the marketing on the back end. They clearly are being successful because they have a list of like 120 influencers that are waiting to be the influencers who get a press and get to like find a book. I talked to a bunch of the influencers who are there. They like love what they're doing. The people who work with them are super great. And then I've talked with the authors who have been picked up and they've had a really great experience. So overall, I literally am just waiting for sales numbers now. Like I cannot wait to see how these books do.
Awesome. Yeah, let's see. It says turn the speakers off, notification on their computer. Someone's getting a lot of emails. I don't think that's me, but okay. Well, I didn't hear the dings, but we'll try to go mute when we're not talking. Okay, so next question. Let's see. So as a longtime writer just breaking into Cozy, I love to hear the paths of promo and advertising. So I think this kind of goes into kind of what we were just chatting about, Rebecca, with the influencers and things like that. I don't necessarily rely on influencers for my books. I run about, I think I do about $1,000, maybe $1,500 worth of advertising every month on between Facebook ads and Amazon ads. And as I kind of alluded to earlier, those did not work very well for my other series, but they are working very, very well for Drinks and Sinkholes and my Cozy Fantasies. They're not, and then I'm also, kind of, I'm active on socials, but I don't do a whole lot of advertising from that standpoint, other than just, kind of daily posting. But really, it is, a lot of times, if a book that you really should read if you're interested in self-publishing is called Amazon Decoded. It's by Dave Gogren. Yeah, there we go. He is brilliant. He's got a YouTube channel, and it kind of goes into the idea behind the Amazon algorithm and why you need to understand the Amazon algorithm in order to be successful at Amazon. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in KU, but just if you're selling on Amazon, which everybody should, because it's 70% of the market share, you should definitely, look into that book. And so one of the ideas that they talk about is a long tail. So I did a huge promo for the first 3 books in the Weary Dragon inbox set. The first 3 books, I put it at 99 cents, ran a BookBub, got a BookBub feature deal for it. And I am still seeing the tail of that series about 6-7 weeks later. So people are still buying it. It's still kind of elevated in the rankings. Amazon is still pushing it. And of course, it's bolstered by the Amazon ads that I'm paying for. And so that's a big, that's something that if you can understand how to manipulate and maximize the tails that you get from your advertising, that's going to help extend that, the money that you're investing in those kinds of things. But Rebecca, JP, and Jackson as well, I'm curious to hear how y'all manage advertising and visibility.
I don't do I have something to say on the ads. Like I have never done ads ever. And it's because it scares this crap out of me and it seems like a lot of money. And I just didn't know how to do it. So I never have. I have attended several conferences and had people who are like massively successful running ads basically flat out tell me that if your book is not selling, like it's like watering like fertilizer, but there's no seed inside. Like if you don't plant a seed and the seed hasn't like grown a little bit, watering it and fertilizing it will not help grow something that isn't there. So if you don't have a lot of sales, you usually will not see a lot of benefit for spending that kind of money on Amazon ads. But if you do have sales, it can like exponentially help your growth in that regard. It's something that I keep meaning to look into and I haven't. I do all of my marketing on TikTok and Instagram, and I have purposely gone with once the traditional press stepped in, I purposely cut back on that a little bit this year. But for the first year I was doing it, I posted every day on 2 platforms. I made videos literally every single day about anything I wanted. Like I literally was just like, it wasn't always about promo for my book. Don't do that. No one will follow you if you're only talking about your book. But I talk about all of the things I'm interested in. So that could be like dogs, it could be video games, it could be, I love teaching and publishing. So I talk a lot about the industry. I did a lot of terms of service deep dives where I was like reading terms of service and like basically explaining what it meant to me. I did a bindery deep dive. I did a NaNoWriMo deep dive. So those things were all very interesting and helped to garner a larger audience. And then I just kind of funneled them into my book. So get online and talk about what you're interested in, but find the platform that you hate the least and go there. Because if you hate the platform, it doesn't matter how many people are on it, you will never be on it. Like you will not make good content on that platform if you're not enjoying it. So
in terms of Kindle Vella, oddly enough, you cannot run Amazon ads on Kindle Vella. I don't know why, but it's very weird. It is not a thing you can select when you go to run ads. The only thing you can do in terms of ads that work for everyone that I have talked to, so differences may vary, whatever, but when we talked about ads, almost everyone is doing Facebook ads. I started with Mandrake Manor running $1 a day ads, and Kindle Vella works the same as Kindle Unlimited. There's a bonus program, and they put money into it for almost 3 years now. It's been $1 million a month that they then distribute to all of the authors. I think last month they dropped it down to 750,000. We think it's because of the award thing that they ran, but no one knows. Regardless of that, When I was running Mandrake Manor, I didn't want to put a lot of money into ads because they scared me. But I knew that I could put in $1 a day, and I was looking at the ad images that were working. And for that book at that time, the image of the book and the arrows pointing to it and telling all the genres around it was working well. It was working so well that I was getting 10 times, if not more, with the bonus program based off of the ads that I was giving into it. I continued that process and I started to scale up how much I was spending on ads with Mousewood Apothecary. And on top of that, I was then doing TikTok videos, trying to just see what everyone else was doing and, adhere it to the cozy fantasy genre. And I also struck a little bit of luck because out of nowhere, Amazon started running an ad on Facebook for me. I didn't pay anything to them. They just randomly did it. They randomly do that every once in a while. It's one of those lucky moments. A mixture of all of those three brought a lot of attention to it. So at the end of the day, when it comes to Kindle Vella, the best thing that works is Facebook ads at the moment. And it's tough. And there are a lot of resources as to like how you can set it up. Um, Regardless of the discussion about the AI images and ads, Matthew J. Holmes has a really good program on how to do it. And then you can determine your comfort level with the images, but the information taught there is invaluable. So that's the one I would recommend the most.
I did the Mark Dawson program, which I know he's a little bit, persona non grata at the moment. He had a little bit of controversy, but the information that he had related to Facebook and BookBug and Amazon. The problem that you find that I have found a little bit is that you get into one program and what is it? Brian Cohen has a good one for Amazon ads. And you get in and you do that, and then you join another group, and they're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Blah, 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 blah. So I think there are multiple ways to accomplish managing the different ad platforms, and I think to I forget who mentioned it, but find one that you like and work with it. Okay, so let's see. This is a good one about peer reviewers. Or do we want to? I know we're kind of running out of time. Let's do the peer reviewers one. So, where do you guys find your? It looks like it's about author, kind of author peers and stuff. Do you guys have, your peer group that you lean on and whatnot? And where did you find them?
I found mine through NaNoWriMo, but I think any local. I think it's really beneficial to have a local group that's in person with a very wide variety of genres. Because I know that sometimes when you're online, you're only finding other fantasy writers. It's easy to get in the comparison game. But when you find people in person, a lot of them are writing completely different genres than you at a completely different stage in their writing than you. And I think that varied help really helped me as a new author. So if you're looking for local meetups, I know that the group Shut Up and Write does local meetups throughout. Like like a local writer can apply to host a Shut Up and Write group inside their area. Ours in Phoenix started very small, like 5 people, and now it's like they have to have a wait list to get in because it's like insanely big. So I think that is where I found most of mine. Otherwise, friends that read are always willing to read my books. And then my partner is a really good one because she started as my beta reader. So
I guess the big takeaway I would say is that writing is not a solitary practice. There are solitary moments in it, but I think that it's something that it should be. You should find author friends, and that you should be involved and sort of involve yourself in any way. I run a local writers group, but also I'm going to plug it again. The Twitch writing community is really profound. We do a lot of productivity streams, talk about writing, and you can find a lot of community there. I'll plug myself, Cheshire Pope. But there's also a lot of other people on there, and we talk about writing. And if there's something that like you're looking for a reviewer or a peer reviewer, we have Discords that you can join. Also podcasts. I mean, I'm part of the Dialogue Doctor. There's the Rebel Authors podcast. There's tons of them, and you can join their Slack groups, and you can potentially, and of course, these are most likely behind Patreon paywalls, but they're very useful. I would find something that you like, find a community that you like, join them, and more than likely you can find peer reviewers there, and just a community.
Awesome.
And
Go
so
ahead, Jackson.
I was going to say, I don't have a writing group. I don't like share my work with like other authors. I found myself in a really interesting situation where I am the least successful actual author of the group of authors that I hang out with, who like they have like trad deals and fancy agents and things like that. So we're in very different places. They don't have time to swap work or anything like that. But one thing that I will mention that happened sort of recently that might be valuable for some people here is I was recently at a dinner where they were talking about, you know, a lot of times people will want these, you know, big authors to like read their work and give them feedback on their work. And one of them made an offer to me to that they would read a chapter and they would edit it the way that they would write it. And so we sat down and we did that. And I like watched them as they went through and they made all these notes about what I had written and that sort of thing. And then when I got done, I sent both versions, the version that I had written that I was already edited by like the editor that I use. And I sent the version that this author who makes six figures writing books had edited and written. And I sent it to 3 or 4 different people and they all preferred mine. They all preferred my version. And that is to say, not that I'm a better writer than that person is, but what that is to say is you're going to get a lot of different feedback from the people in your writing group, from other authors, from whoever. The hardest part about being an author and writing books is knowing what feedback to reject and when to sort of stay true to yourself. Picking the right feedback, picking the right advice. That's the hardest part. So I would definitely like if your entire writing group, right, of 20 people is all saying this specific thing is bad and you should not do it, maybe listen to them. But if you've got 5 out of the 20 people who are very vocal about something that they dislike and everybody else isn't so much, and you feel like it's the right like artistic direction and decision, stick with that because you are the author. This is a muscle that you have to grow, and it is one of the most important muscles that you can. No one else can tell you, you know, exactly what is the best way to write your book or the best style, right? Everybody's different. So I thought that would be good to share.
I well said. That is actually one of my top writing advice to people. So very well said there, Jackson. I know we have hit the end of our panel here, so I just want to give everyone just a few seconds to let everybody know where to find you. So I'm going to start. Jackson, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
Yeah, so of course, campfirewriting.com. That's where you can find Campfire, the writing software, all that good stuff. I do a series of satirical author interviews, if that sounds like fun. They're in the vein of Zach Galifianakis's Between Two Ferns, where he roasts celebrities while he interviews them. I do Between Two Perns, like Dragon Riders of Pern. So I've roasted everybody from Brandon Sanderson to Christopher Paolini to Andy Weir. Tons of different people. You will see a very different Jackson than you've seen here, but it's just for laughs. It's just for fun. So you can look up Between Two Perns or Jackson D Author on all socials platforms.
Awesome. Rebecca, why don't we go next? We'll just do counterclockwise.
Thank you. Hello. Sorry, I've been coughing, so I'm like muting myself every chance I get. I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram under Rebecca Thorne and Rebecca Thorne Writes. Rebecca Thorne Writes is Instagram. Rebecca.Thorne is TikTok. But if you type Rebecca Thorne in, you can find me pretty much anywhere. I have a website that has links to all of my books. I'm on Amazon. I'm in pretty much every bookstore with the trad books. And a lot of times you can go to indie bookstores and order my indie books as well, which is cool. So everywhere, anywhere. Reach out to me with any questions. I have an email address on my website, and my DMs and Instagram are open, so you can find me there and ask me anything. So
awesome. And JP?
I'm everywhere too. I also have a website. It's the word salad of my name. So jprindfleischix.com. Why not buy that URL? So yeah, you can find me there or everywhere under the same name.
Awesome. And I am, of course, S Usher Evans everywhere. Just want to do one final plug because I'm like $300 away from my next stretch goal on my Kickstarter. So if you like backing cozy fantasy books and you want bookish swag, that's I am on Kickstarter. I'm also susherevans.com and S Usher Evans everywhere. You can get my books wherever you like to buy or borrow books. They are available in libraries too. I want to thank everyone so much for coming to this panel today. Thank you to JP. Thank you to Jolly Jupiter. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Jackson. Thanks for everyone who listened. And I hope it was informative. And of course, as we've said, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us offline. And with that, I think we've got another one that's probably gotten started. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. I'll be back at 6 p.m. if you guys want to join me and think twice for the lit RPG side. It's going to be really fun. All right. Bye.
See y'all.